In this video, I want to discuss the concept of definition, how to provide a definition, how to make a definition, how to write uh, a paragraph or a section or even an essay that is focused. Its goal is to define something. And there are a lot of different names that are given to different types of definitions, and it depends on what source you look at. But it would help to know some of these names. So if you were interested in, say, Googling or researching something like what is a definition or how to make a definition, you can categorize these by the common names that are given. But here, I just want to discuss this in terms of the essentials and the different types of techniques. Okay, so the first is the ostensive definition. The ostensive definition is where you just point. You show the thing you are trying to define. So you don't really try to come up with a list of its essential qualities, but you instead simply indicate it. For example, if I were to try to define for you what blue means, I couldn't. How would I do it? The color of the sea, but then how do you know what that color is? And is the sea always blue? Excuse me. What about if I were to say blue is a certain wavelength of electromagnetic current on the spectrum, and it's this frequency, as you maybe would define it scientifically based on something you can measure. But do we ever experience blue that way? That's not what we think of when we think of blue. So to define blue, I would just point. I would say, look, this background, that's blue. That's a type of blue. And as you live in the world where blue is, and you keep on watching people point to the thing that they call blue, you get the idea of what it is. So that's ostensive. Just point to it. Now, sometimes it's called extensive definition because if you just provide a list of the things that are that, like fruit. If you try to define fruit by saying apples, oranges, bananas, strawberries, that sort of thing, you're just giving a list of the things, and you're basically depending on the person who's listening to come up with an idea of what the definition is. That's called the extension definition, or it's just a list, what it is. You run into troubles quickly when you hit something like tomato. Is it a fruit or a vegetable, or so extension definitions aren't all that hot. There's the definition of convention, the conventional definition, sometimes called a nominal definition, where you just say, look, we're going to by this word galumph, I mean this. To walk heavily like an elephant. Now that's an actual word, by the way, but you just come up with a word, and then you say, look, whenever we say Gilstott, we mean or here's one, wussywug. Have you heard of wussywug? Wussywug. It's the acronym for what you see is what you get. Okay. Well, yeah, that's not a very popular word because it just doesn't sound very good. But you just make up something and you say, I assign this definition to it. So I'm the foremost authority of this because I've invented the word. I'm introducing the symbol into our language, and here's what it means. So let's use it. Get on board with me if you want to. If you don't, and so people have tried to introduce words like that, but it's hard to do. That's your conventional definition. Usually corporations will do this with signage. And they'll just think of, well, we need a sign that means always up on this end or something, or recycle. So they come up with the 3 arrows, and then it gets accepted into society, and you have the symbol with this definition. But anyway, a more definition you should concern yourself more with when you write an article on this, or an essay on this, or a paragraph defining something. You can use all of these techniques, by the way, just kind of like lump them all together and see if at the end you do a decent job defining a term, because defining terms are a lot harder than you think. But one is called the genus definition, or the Platonic definition, genus, species, and the idea is you first describe a general class, okay, and then in that class to separate the members that can quickly be seen to be part of that class, to separate them out from each other, you provide a more specific difference between them. All right, so there's that species within the genus. So, for example, furniture. Man, I don't even want to try to come up with a definition for that. But let's just say, just for this working illustration here, Um, uh, uh, Things in a house you can move. See that, and you use for the activity of living. That could certainly need some help. But you see, that would be a general character, a class, a general class, and then you would have to. How do you distinguish chair then from a table? So a chair would be within the furniture group, something designed for sitting on with a back on it, as opposed to a couch, so or a table. So that's also a way to go about defining stuff. That really does a better job of it, though. Now the thing about uh, that sort of classification, definition by classification, or definition by, first outlining a general class and then trying to show specific differences within its members, you have to come up with a list of what's called class characteristics, class defining characteristics. And what that is just the essential element something has to have to belong to that class. Okay, now the technical term for this is the sine qua non. Sine qua nons. That's the anglicized version of the Latin plural. The sine qua non is without which, no. In other words, without this element, you don't have the thing you're trying to define. So if you can come up with a list of those essential elements, that really will nail the definition down. In many cases, okay, in many cases. Now the assignment you have, I'm going to give you a word. If I were to give you a word to define, if I were to design that as an assignment, and it's a word in everyday use, like table, or good, or beauty, or music, or madness, sanity, insanity, you should respect the assignment, because by giving it adequate time and by giving it adequate preparation. And some of the hardest things you'll write are paragraph length, because they involve so much thinking beforehand, and it doesn't look like you're writing. But a lot of the activity of writing happens right up here before you even pick up the pen. And if you will spend time thinking about the word, how it's used in common use, what's its dictionary definition, its conventional definition, what's its logical definition, what are the characteristics a thing must have to be that thing, um, whichever approach you have to take, and you might have to combine approaches. Do so and see at the end of the day, when you write the paragraph or the essay, whether or not you have produced or articulated these elements that go into defining this word I would give you in this assignment, so that nothing can creep into the category that is not that word. So if I were to say define boat, you'd have to really nail it down so that, say, a jet ski could never work its way into being called a boat by the definition you end up giving. So there's a lot of careful design that goes into this, and it's a challenging assignment. But let's see what you can do. Again, I would first of all just sit down and think, what do I really mean when I use this word or when I hear it used? And if you don't know, then do some reading, do some education to try to catch up to what you think people mean by this. But then think, is that really what they mean? What might they really mean? And then go from there.